So in this next part, we're going to talk about multiplying with radical expression. So let's take a look at this first example. 3 square root of 5 times 2 square root of 8. So when you're multiplying and it has radical expressions, what we're going to do is you're going to multiply the outside number first, and it's going to stay on the outside. So 3 times 2 will be 6, and then on the inside, the square roots, and the same process if you were working with cube roots, fourth root, and fifth root. So the square root of 5 times the square root of 8, and let me write it over here. So 5 times 8, that will be square root of 40. And then we still have the 6 on the outside. Now, from that moment, or from this point, we're not going to stop. After you multiply, you're going to ask yourself, can you simplify the square root of 40? In this case, yes you can. 40 can be broken down into 4 times 10, and 4 is a perfect square number. I'm still going to have my 6 out here. So it's going to be 6 times square root of 4 times square root of 10. And then the only thing I can simplify is the square root of 4, which will be 2. And I bring down everything else. So 6 times 2 is 12. And I still have the square root of 10. So that would be my final answer, and I know for sure I cannot simplify square root of 10 any further because I cannot break 10 into two numbers where one of them is a perfect square number. So this is my final answer. So to review, when you have an example like 3 square root of 5 multiplying with 2 square root of 8, the outside numbers will multiply. So 3 times 2 is 6. And then the numbers that's inside the radical, in this case the square root, I multiply 5 and 8 and got square root of 40. And then I check, can we simplify the square root of 40? Yes we can. I broke down 40 into 4 and 10, where 4 is a perfect square number. After that, simplify, and then my final answer is 12 square root of 10. In this next example, we have negative 4 square root of 3 times 2 square root of 6. So just like in the last example, I'm going to multiply my outside numbers, negative 4 and 2, which is negative 8. And then I'm going to multiply my radicals. So it's going to be square root of 3 times 6, which will become square root of 18. And I'm still going to have my negative 8 on the outside. Now, here, you're going to ask yourself, can you simplify the square root of 18? Yes, you can. You can break 18 into two numbers, which is 9 and 2. Whereas one of these two numbers, the 9, is a perfect square number. I'm still going to have my negative 8. So I'm going to break the square root of 9 times 2 into 2 square root. So negative 8 times square root of 9 times square root of 2. And the only thing I can do right now, simplify the square root of 9, which is 3. Bring down my square root of 2. Bring down my negative 8. And again, my negative 8 is going to multiply with the 3. So negative 8 times 3 will be negative 24 square root of 2. So that would be my final answer. So when you finish multiplying the radicals together, always check if you can simplify. If you can, do so. And then any number that you can do the square root, or any other example where you have cube root, fourth root, or fifth root, do so, and then it's going to multiply to the number that you have on the outside. Alright, in this next example, I have two binomial terms that are multiplying to each other. 2 square root 3 minus 6 is multiplying with 5 square root 8 plus 2. So when you see an example or a problem like this, you're going to have to FOIL, or you could use the box method. Again, whichever method doesn't matter to me as long as you multiply correctly. So I'm going to do the first half of FOIL. I'm going to do 2 square root 3 times 5 square root 8. So I'm going to have 10 square root of 24 times, so since I have 2 square root 3 multiplying to this 2, then this 2 is just simply going to multiply to my number that's outside the radical. So 2 times 2, which is 4, and I'm still going to have my radical, which is 3. So again, all I did was multiply the outside number of the square root of 3 to this 2, and I got 4, and I kept my radical. Now I'm going to do the second half of FOIL. So here, negative 6 times 5 square root 8, and again, all I'm doing was just multiplying my negative 6 to the 5 that's outside the square root of 8, which will be negative 30, and I keep my square root of 8. Then I do negative 6 plus times positive 2, which is negative 12. Now, just like FOIL, can we combine any radicals together or any variables together? In this case, we cannot. Now, next, you can check if you can simplify any radicals. In this example, we can. We can simplify the square root of 24 and the square root of 8. So first, I'm going to simplify the square root of 24, meaning I'm going to break down 24 into 4 and 6. I'm going to bring this one down, 4 square root of 3, because 3 is already simplified. Square root of 3 is already simplified. Now for the square root of 8, I'm going to break it down into 4 times 2. And then bring down to minus 12. Alright. Now for square root of 4 times 6, I'm going to break it into 2 square roots. So it's going to be 10 times square root of 4 times square root of 6. Then I'm going to again bring down the 4 square root of 3. For the 30 square root of 4 times 2, I'm going to do the same thing as what I did over here. Break it into square root of 4 and square root of 2. And I bring it down to minus 12. Alright? So now, the only one I could simplify is the square root of 4 on both of these terms. So, the one I have on the left will be 10 times 2 times square root of 6. Bring down to 4 square root of 3. And then the one I have on the right will be 30 times 2. And again, I got the 2 from the square root of 4. And then bring down to minus 12. Alright, so I'm going to multiply the 10 and the 2 that's outside the square root of 6, which will be 20 square root of 6. Bring down plus 4 square root of 3. And then over here, I'm going to multiply my negative 30 times 2, that is outside the square root of 2, which is negative 60 square root of 2. And then I bring down to minus 12. Alright, here, I'm going to check. I have square root of 6, square root of 3, and square root of 2. They're all in their simplest form. I cannot combine like terms, so this will be my final answer. 20 square root of 6 plus 4 square root of 3 minus 60 square root of 2 minus 12. That is your final answer. So to review, we have to simplify two of the radicals, in this case square root of 24 and square root of 8. The reason is because I can break 24 into 4 and 6, where 4 is a perfect square number. Square root of 8, I break it down to 4 and 2 because 4 is also a perfect square number. Keep in mind that we're working with square root, but the process is the same if you're working with cube root, fourth root, fifth root, and so on.